And so, okay, you were saying something about a conversation that needs to be had before we get into these questions. So what was it that you maybe wanted to share?
Now this is going to be probably, I'm going to go out on a limb and say this is going to be a very important and unanticipated conversation from what you're interested in finding out.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I wanted to get it straight, because it may be something that's much more important than you may have anticipated, and you can use it more than you were expecting to use it for.
Right.
So first, there's a foundation that has to be laid to talk about, define, and clearly understand what elders are. So if we don't understand, we don't have a common understanding of what we mean by elder, then the answers to the questions are nebulous at best and totally meaningless at worst. So let's talk about these ideas, the construct or the concept of elder. But this is something that has been configured somewhere in history. There's no such thing actually walking around every day that qualifies, that would be naturally an elder. So where does that come from and what does that mean? And I want to do this too, because so many of our people now, we have been, I won't say dumbed down, but we have been encouraged not to think in depth. So we're talking about things on a very surface level. Most of the time, we're giving opinions because we don't really know what we're talking about. And since we aren't thinking about what it means deeply, we just make up any feeling we have about something and we think that describes it, but that's not the case. So these concepts that we're talking about, like eldership or elderhood or elders, this is related to traditional socialization and living conditions in what we would characterize as villages. These come out of the notion of what it is to be in a village. In the West, since we don't have any villages, see, all of these concepts really have no meaning. We're applying them to gatherings of people that we call communities, but they're not really communities either. They're just a collection of people. And we apply terms that are really related to other things as if they can be transplanted into new conversations and they mean the same thing. So let's go back, because all of these things are important for Black people, our people, African people, to get an understanding of just how sophisticated, just how intelligent, just how organized, and just how thoughtful the people that we refer to as ancestors actually were. We use these terms superficially and we think they mean whatever we think they mean. So where does this idea come from? It comes from a village where even Hillary Clinton have tried to co-opt the cliche, which is now a cliche, it was a proverb, that it takes a village to raise a child. She co-opted that, made it a title of a book, and now it sounds like it's faddish. But so what does that mean? Now you've been to villages, so you have a sense of what this is talking about. It's not a fancy phrase just to make people feel good and say, well, we're all together, we can do this, that. So think of a village as a human farm. Mm-hmm. The object of the village is to raise people. Mm-hmm. So it's like a farm. If you grow corn, the object is to produce corn. And what kind of corn would you want to produce? The worst corn you could find or the best corn you can find? So you're trying to produce the best product. So a village is a human farm. Every person in the village is being developed by what? By the other people in the village.
Right.
They're being developed by the people in the village. So the idea of elder means an example of the best thing that the village has been able to produce.
Mm-hmm.
And that person has been produced by people that preceded them.
Mm-hmm.
So an elder is not what we consider in church, a person that somehow magically or fortunately or avoided mishap and they got to reach the age of 65. That's an old person, but it's not necessarily an elder. So an elder is an example of the best thing that the village has been able to produce from the people.
Not to interrupt, just
Yeah. Okay. You have a question or should I continue?
sorry, continue. It cut out, so I thought you had stopped, but continue.
Oh, no. Okay. So an elder becomes the example of what the community has been able to develop. So once you have a body of work that demonstrates your qualification to be moved into a category of a model of what the community has been able to produce, now you qualify as an elder. Because we can say, now, if you want to know about yoga, Jamila is a model of what that is. So model yourself after her. Follow what she's doing. Learn from what she's doing. Watch her closely because she's a living example of the thing we're attempting to produce. But just a drunken 65-year-old wandering around the community is not a model that you would suggest anybody to emulate. That's not an elder. That's just an old person. So an elder becomes something that is first exemplary of what the community has been able to do. And in the form of reciprocity, that person has to now enter into eldership, which is the modeling of the behavior that the community has instilled in you and has been demonstrated by you back to the community. And now you become the agent and the model for instilling that into the young people that are now in the community. That's eldership. So the best thing that a person like at my age could be considered as is an elder. Mm-hmm. People ask me, well, what would you like people to think about you? I like the people to think that I'm an elder and I'm engaged in eldership. I appreciate the fact that I have reached a certain age. I have done certain things for a long enough time, and I have demonstrated what the community has developed. And if the community recognizes me as that, it's confirmation that what I believe is what the community perceives. So we're in a partnership now. The community is appreciative of what I have done over a period of time that could be replicated or could be modeled. And I owe that community a debt because the community has developed those qualities that I have exhibited that now are recognized by the community. So now it's my turn to repay the community by instilling those things as best I can into the next generation. So this is a perfect example of what goes around comes around. So now it's my turn to pay back the debt that I owe for the nurturance that has allowed me to become who I am. So I have a bank account. I have a debt, a bill that has to be paid off. And the way to pay it off is to make sure that I do everything I can, or any elder would do everything they can to instill in a person like you, a younger generation, to say, this is what we've learned. This is what I've learned from the elders that taught me. This is what I've learned from these things. So let me pass it on to you. And if it helps to nurture you, when you reach the age of 65, 70, the people that know you will recognize you as an elder. And then it'll be your job to do the same thing. So the cycle keeps repeating itself. So when you gave your introduction, it was actually it's much more than what you said. You said, youth, we know we have to keep in touch with the elders and we have to involve the elders in the conversation, but it's more than that. The elders are like the model of the lifeblood that's actually making the community continue to sustain itself and hopefully improve.
Yeah.
So this is what eldership is about. Eldership is not, we have too many people, in my estimation, and I don't want to criticize people, but we have too many people who are in the category where you could qualify as an elder, but you're not really an elder. You're in the age group from which elders typically are identified. And so you're trying to capitalize on the fact that you're at this age. And so you want some kind of commendation from younger people that since you've reached this age, they should listen to you. But young people should not necessarily listen to a person just because they've reached a certain age. What is the legitimacy of anything you have to say? Where's the example of anything you've done? And why should I pay homage to you just because you've managed to make it to this age? That's not logical. Why should I take a crop? Why should I take my corn that's all brown and will not derive anything at the marketplace? Why should I harvest that, pack it up, take it to the market, and put it on display when I know it's not offering anything? Matter of fact, it's convincing everybody that I'm a poor farmer because I have a crop that's not valuable at all. So we have elders that are trying to, having failed. This is just me talking, so if people hate on me for this, that's okay. We have a lot of people that are in the age group from which elders typically come, that want to enjoy the benefit of the title of elder. And they want to capitalize on using that title and somehow getting respect, generating revenue, category where your responsibility is to pay back. It's not to take. You've already taken to get to where you are. So now you're at a point where it's time for you to return the favor. Return, it's reciprocity time for you. So your behavior has to be devoted to making sure that other people come after you that do better than you did. Because every plant, if you look at it, as it grows, the leaves get bigger and bigger. The new leaf is bigger than the leaf that was there at first. So you say, my plant is really growing. It's really doing great. What makes you say it's doing great? Because the new life is greater and more abundant and robust looking than the leaf that was there that preceded it. So eldership is your time to make sure that the leaves that come after you will be bigger than you were. So now that to me, we're talking about greed. We're talking about me glamorizing myself in my latter years. So if an elder doesn't do the things that an elder is supposed to do during eldership, the elder loses the opportunity to qualify as an ancestor. The elders become your ancestors. But if you don't function as an elder consistent with the obligations of an elder, You don't become an ancestor. So when we pour libation, we don't mention your name. We only
Right.
mention the names of the people that have exemplified something that is superhuman almost. And we want to say that these are the people we want to call in the ancestral world and tell them how much we appreciate them.
Mm-hmm.
But just old people, we don't call the names of just old people. We don't call the names of every dead person that we might know. We're distinguishing between which ones are the models that we want to follow and we want to remember. The ones we name our children after, that tells us what we think about them. Mm-hmm. We don't name our children after a drunken. So if we miss something, we'll come back to it. It's no problem.
No, it's still in the recording. It'll just show that it was cut out a bit. So don't worry, we have everything.
Okay.
But that was a great introduction. One thing that I want to ask you is, what do you feel key characteristics of an elder actually is?
Well, in general terms, the key characteristics of an elder have to be those things that you would want to model. Because an elder, more than anything, is a model. So what would you want to, in the Akan tradition, the ultimate purpose of development is to produce people with good character.
Mm-hmm.
That's the bottom line. So what would you expect an elder to be? An elder is a model of good character. Is honest, dependable, reliable, compassionate, trustworthy. Anything that relates to good character, the elder is the model of that. Mm-hmm. So people can name anything they want. Industrious, yes, that's an elder. That's a good character. Does what she says she's gonna do. Yes, I want that. Anything you want that you would say is an indicative of a good character, that's an elder's job. An elder's supposed to be a model of those things to a level that indicates the best thing that the village has produced.
Right.
That's why you put them as the head of the family, because they're almost impeccable. They're almost flawless. That's the concept. So any characteristic you can think of, any characteristic you can think of, you would want an elder. Plain and simple.
Yeah, you can continue, sorry.
Well, let me give you a characteristic of eldership that applies right now.
Okay.
Elders are patient. Yeah. Elders are not easily flustered by things. Life has many challenges, ups and downs. Elders don't go nuts because something has happened. It's not the end of the world.
Right.
So elders are supposed to demonstrate all these things because the next generation that's coming hasn't had the same extent of experience. So some things seem catastrophic that really aren't catastrophic. So an elder is supposed to say, look, it's not that, it's inconvenient, but it's not the middle passage. Right. It's disruptive, but it's not the KKK lynch mob. So let's keep these things in perspective. We got a glitch with technology. That's all it is. It's not more than that.
Right.
So we keep going until we get it straight and it'll be fine. And if it's not, God willing, and we're still living, we'll record it tomorrow or
Right.
later today. So we have to keep the end game in focus and realize what we're trying to do is have a conversation. If it's completed with a bunch of short segments that make up a conversation, that's still a conversation.
Exactly. And it's still useful content.
The content is not going anywhere. You can package it, you can repackage it, you can take out the glitches so that nobody knows that we went through these things, because they're not what's important. If it takes a little bit longer, it takes a little bit different
Right.
detours that we didn't anticipate. That's what life is. That's what life is. So
exactly.
we keep moving. And as long as we're on the path, we know we're moving in the right direction, we will get there. That's the phrase here that is so common in Kra. Little by little, we'll piece this together. We'll piece this together little by little.
That's right.
And it will be fine. That's the phrase. So elders know that. So they say, Jamila, don't worry about it. I'm here. We'll get back on. We'll go from there. We don't have to go all the way back to the beginning and say, introduce ourselves again. We know who we are, so we start from where it's about. So we're not going to panic because something doesn't go the way we would like it to go. We're not in charge of the universe.
Exactly. So I guess, okay, so you definitely expressed the importance of eldership, but how does a community honor their elders? How best? How would you, as an elder, like to be honored?
Well, one thing that I know what you mean, but I think it's a mischaracterization, a misuse of a term, because elders don't need to be honored as much as respected.
Mm-hmm.
So to respect, so people ask me, my students often ask me in my schools, say, well, we like to make you happy. We want to celebrate the stuff you've done, and we want to do something to make you happy. I said, the thing you can do that will make me the happiest of all is to become good students and learn. I don't need a cake. I don't need a celebration. I don't need a plaque. What would really make me the happiest is that you would understand what it is I'm attempting to do, which is to make good students. And you will become a good student, and you know I will be the happiest man in the world. Right. So what communities could do or should do, and particularly young people, is to conduct themselves in a way that they understand the relationship between the elder and the community. If you understand that relationship, you know that I am happy as soon as you see me as an elder. If the community sees me as an elder, I know I have done something that is noteworthy, and everybody perceives that to be noteworthy, and they have given me a certain appreciation that validates what I have done. But it also validates what those that came before me have done that nobody knows. It's validation for all those people too. And so as soon as that happens, I know that I'm on the right track to potentially be seen as an ancestor one day. So I'm on the path headed towards ancestorhood. You're on the path headed towards eldership. So we're on the same path. I'm just farther down on the path than you are, but you're on the same path too. So what would honor me while I'm living is the recognition that I'm doing a good job.
Right.
I have reached a status, and then what I need to do in reciprocity for that recognition is to continue to repay and build the next generation. Because we're all in this together. We're all integrated in this thing. We just have different roles and responsibilities at different junctures. But we're all on this same one task to perpetuate, advance, and sustain this community of people. We're all engaged in that together. I'm just at a different level of responsibility than you have right now. I would say, well, Jamila, you don't really need to try to do all that stuff because you're not an elder. So don't bother yourself with that. That will take care of itself when the time comes. This is not the time for that.
Right.
So you don't have to concern yourself, but you'll get there. It'll come. So you're doing other things right now. And so that's the passage that you're in. You're not in the eldership passage. If we use rites of passage, you're not in the eldership passage yet. So why are you worried about that?
Right.
It's like a child that you've just given a plate of food and they want to know where's the dessert. Well, you haven't reached that point yet. Eat the food that's on your plate. You might not even be hungry, and we don't have to discuss dessert, or you may not like the dessert, or anything can happen. So focus on what you're doing right now. The other things all come in due time. When the time is right, that'll be there, so you don't have to try to rush and get to it. So that's what now. So what the community could do is just recognize that an elder is achieving the kind of relationship that he or she wants, is to be appreciated for the growth and development that you've somehow achieved. But you haven't achieved that all by yourself. So it looks like you're being celebrated for things that you haven't even done all by yourself. You just happen to be the one that's being recognized. But you haven't done these things by yourself. You're not that good. You're just not that good. So you accept this appreciation and respect, but you also accept it on behalf of all the people that are going unnoticed right now, that are a big part of that accomplishment. So that's why we recognize other people. Whenever somebody gives you an award, whether it's an athlete or someone else, they thank their mom. Their mom is not even there.
Right.
Your mom is not even there. She's not even in the stadium. You're on the sideline. You say, well, I want to first thank my mom. Because without her, I wouldn't be here right now. So the recognition also serves multiple purposes. It's the community's recognition of something that has been achieved, which is good. It also provides the opportunity for the recipient of the recognition to recognize the invisible people that nobody knows about unless you say who they are. They don't know the story. They don't know the life that you've been living until you start telling them. So it gives you the chance to recognize people that nobody knew and never received recognition. So now you're telling those people how thankful you are for what they've done. And this award, like you see people win the Academy Awards, they give the award to other people. Right. Say, you're really the one that's most deserving of the award. It's not me. So it keeps it reverberating. So I would say it's not honor, it's recognition of a job well done. Like we say, ayuko. It's a job well done. It's not saying that you're all that, but it's a job well done. So you're giving credit to the person that's identified as associated with it, but the person, and you also know that the job well done has been done by hundreds of people together. So as long as we got that understanding, then we can maintain another very, very important quality of eldership is humility. If you're not humble, you're taking credit for things that you haven't actually done by yourself. You happen to be in the spotlight, so you're hogging the spotlight, knowing consciously that that's an abuse of credit. There are a lot of other people that are not mentioned. So for you to be humble, so the first thing you know about a person that's not going to qualify them for eldership is they're arrogant, they're greedy,